There's tons of different ways to make a living in Stardew Valley. Whether it is by farming, ranching, fishing, or even mining can be very profitable. And you really need all the money you can get, especially if you're going for perfection. But harvesting and replanting your crops every few days can be a bit tiring, especially later on. I'm not here to talk about having a million pigs roaming around your farm, or plastering every single space with starfruit or ancient fruit, because that's way too much work. But rather about methods that just need a little bit of setup and require as little attention as possible, while still providing a decent amount of income. So, here are 3 late game money makers for the lazy farmer. Also, this does include major spoilers for 1.6, as do all of my videos. The first one I'd like to talk about are fish ponds. I know that I'm not reinventing the wheel here, there's already quite a few videos on YouTube where people talk about how good fish ponds are. But hear me out. With the 1.6 update came a few small changes that also include ponds. Now, anyone who watched any of my videos knows that I love my fish ponds. I just think they're neat. I feel like they're one of the more overlooked farm buildings, and while they are of course not as profitable as pigs or sheeps, I just love them because besides producing a whole lot of useful items, they can also provide a good amount of income without much work. So let's say you build yourself 4 ponds. That's a total of 20,000 gold, 800 stone, and 20 green algae and seaweed. Now of course, getting seaweed and green algae can be a bit tricky, so if you're specifically looking for these, seaweed can be foraged at the beach farm and from tide pools on the beach once you repaired the bridge. It also has a chance to be fished up from the ocean, and you may want to use your training rod for that. And the most reliable way is during the night market, where there's a 41% chance to catch seaweed in the submarine ride. Green algae can be fished up from any freshwater location, with the exception of the farm pond on the standard farm for whatever reason. And it also has a 10% chance to drop from green slimes. The most profitable fish for ponds is without a doubt the lava eel. The aged roe sells for 760 gold, and with the artisan profession for 1064. But getting one can be a bit frustrating. This fish can be found at the 100th floor of the mines and has a very slow spawn rate, so you'll probably be here for a while. You can increase your chance of getting one by using a lava eel bait, which Willy sells from time to time. And at the top of the volcano, you can now only hook a lava eel if you're at least level 7 at fishing. But thankfully you only really need to catch one. Once you place it in your fish pond, it will now start to reproduce every 5 days. Keep in mind that most fish will require some items once they reached a certain capacity. Here's a list of quest items that the lava eel can request from you. A full lava eel pond has a good chance to produce 2 roe each day, sometimes even 3, along with some other useful items, but the main thing of course is the roe. On average, I get about 5 to 6 roe per day from those 4 ponds. We can double that by using a golden animal cracker, which you can find once you unlock the farming mastery. So, with 4 lava eel ponds with golden animal crackers, you could potentially get a maximum of 24 roe in one day, which would be over 25,000 gold after preserving it. That's not that bad. But there's more. If you fish out 2 lava eels on each of your ponds and put them in a fish smoker and sell those 8 smoked fish, depending on what professions you have, that can make you over 23,000 gold. I said only 2 fish on each pond specifically because, well, I didn't want it to craft more machines, but also because the more fish you have in the pond, the higher the chances for them to produce more roe, so keep that in mind. You don't have to redo any requests after taking out some fish, but you will have to wait a few days again for the fish to replenish. I should probably also mention, in case you're really struggling to get a lava eel, the second best option money-wise is the blobfish and then a sturgeon. Moving on to the second method, which are bee houses. Bee houses only work from spring to fall, and that's why I like having them on Ginger Island, so that they can work all year around. For the setup, you only need 1 garden pot, 1 fairy seed, as many bee houses as you'd like to have, and this is optional, but I'd recommend getting 1 deluxe retaining soil. With a very recent patch, bee houses now also work with garden pots, which is amazing. So pick a spot that you like, plant the fairy rose seed in a garden pot, and if you have the retaining soil, you don't need to worry about watering it yourself every day. Fairy rose honey is by far the best selling one out of all of the available flowers. With the artisan profession, one fairy rose honey sells for 925 gold. I have my bee house set up to the right side of the island farm on this little space before you enter the frog cave. It's not very pretty and not optimized, but it works. And then I have another 4 bee houses down here, which makes it a total of 33. That gives me 33 fairy rose honey every 4 days, which I can sell for 31,460 gold. Pretty good for just some honey. If you want to maximize space and efficiency, then here is a layout to help you set it up. The last method I want to show you is making use of the new mushroom logs and mystic trees. For the mystic tree, you need to have the farming mastery unlocked. They're super easy to craft with needing only 5 acorn, maple, pine, and mahogany seeds. This is one of, I think, 3 new tree types, and besides looking just absolutely beautiful, it can also provide somewhat of an income. Once you put a tapper on a mystic tree, it will now produce mystic syrup every 7 days. The syrup is necessary if you want to craft a treasure totem or bluegrass starters, but it also sells for a quite nice sum, 1,000 gold for each mystic syrup you ship. This finally makes the tapper profession way more useful, since the sell price for mystic syrup would go up to 1,250 gold. What's that? You didn't even know that the tapper profession existed? Yeah, me neither. Put on a heavy tapper and now you can pick up liquid money every 3 days. The mushroom log, as the name suggests, produces 1 to 5 mushrooms every 4 days, provided it doesn't rain. The type of mushrooms you get depends on what type of trees are surrounded by it. The mystic tree has a pretty good chance of growing purple mushrooms, which are the highest selling ones in the game. Now, the quality of the mushroom depends on how many trees you have nearby, how old they are, and if they have moss on them. But the quality doesn't really matter, since we want to put those into the dehydrator anyways, to double their value. Unless you get some gold or iridium purple mushrooms, then don't put them in the dehydrator. Unlike the fish smoker, the dehydrator doesn't need any coal to operate, but it does take about a whole day to process the mushrooms. On my Meadowlands farm, I have 10 mystic trees with 8 mushroom logs. I'm sure there's a better layout for this, but if you couldn't tell by now, I'd rather have things look nice than be super efficient. Anyways, since I have heavy tappers, I get 10 mystic syrup every 3 days, and I get about 30 something mushrooms from the logs, which I put into the dehydrators. And this is what my profit looks like when I ship everything together. And yeah, that concludes my 3 late game moneymakers for the lazy farmer. I know that probably a lot of people are going to use the mystic syrup for bluegrass starter recipes, but I thought I'd mention how well the syrup sells, since, well, I play on Meadowlands farm, so I don't really care about the bluegrass, since I already have it, so I'd rather sell it. But anyways, I've been rambling for too long now. I hope you found this video helpful, learned anything new, or maybe just enjoyed listening to me, because if you did, then please leave a like, it helps out so much. And thanks for watching.